Jupiter's Legacy. There are some scenes that Josh Duhamel has with his daughter in the show, and it's a very strained relationship. I nothing to do with my character at all. Those are some of my most favorite scenes in the show, surprising. And it's a big, huge, epic superhero show. And those are some of the scenes that I actually really enjoy a lot because I really relate to those now. And it makes me think like, God, I hope that's not me and my daughter in 17, 18 years. But I see it. I see it happen, and so I think having a kid, it really opens up a complexity and a depth in yourself, an emotional depth that you didn't know was there, and you tap into that. And I think, it makes me a better actor.
What's doing, everybody? I'm Alec Lace. Thank you for watching First Class Fatherhood. Today's guest on the podcast is actor Matt Lanter. Matt is currently starring in the new Netflix original series Jupiter's Legacy. He has been the voice of Anakin Skywalker for over 90 episodes of Star Wars: The Clone Wars. It's an honor to have him on the podcast today. Get down there, smack the subscribe button, tap the like, and let's jump into it right now with Matt Lanter on First Class Fatherhood. Joining me now, First Class Father, Matt Lanter. Welcome to First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me.
All right. Hey, listen, it's an honor to have you here. Let's start it like this. How many kids do you have? How old?
I've got one and a fur baby. If you count fur babies, I don't know. I hate that term, but a lot of people love dogs and cats. So I've got one kid. She's 3, almost 3.5, and she's a hoot.
Okay, very cool. Did you guys do any kind of like gender reveal to find out what you had with her? Or did you wait to the end? How'd you work that out?
Yeah, we did do well. My wife and I, we found out we had the envelope, from the doctor that we went home, just her and I. We actually put it on video, so we have video of just her and I sitting on the couch and revealing. But did we have a big party? I think we did a little something on the beach, like with our parents. It wasn't a big, huge thing, though. It was just kind of a little fun thing. But yeah, for my wife and I, it was just her and I just on our couch finding out our future.
Okay, very cool. You guys going for any more? Or are you all done?
I think we'd like to have more. Yeah. Obviously, the world's been a crazy place here in the last year and a half or so. But I guess it's always a crazy place. And for us, there's always this thing of like, and I have to assume most people are like this, but filming. If I don't know where I'm going to be next year, I don't know where I'm going to be 9 months from now. So it's a little tough for us to kind of like I could be anywhere in the world, and of course my wife doesn't want to get pregnant, with the thought of I could be anywhere in the world delivering a baby. So it's a little tough in that aspect. But yeah, I mean, I think we want more. Maybe one more. I grew up with one biological sibling. It was my sister and I, and my wife she's an only child. So she definitely wants more because she wants brothers and sisters for our daughter. And yeah, I think I do too. Maybe one more.
Yeah, very cool. I got 4 myself, so keep them coming. If you could here, Matt, take a second, just take a second to hit my listeners with a little bit about your background and what you do.
Sure. My background is born in Ohio, raised in Georgia. Played sports as a kid, worked for the Atlanta Braves as a bat boy for a couple of seasons, ended up moving myself to LA and trying my hand at acting, cut to, 15, 16 years later. I've had a pretty successful career and, I'm able to provide for my family and I'm having fun right now, which is, why I'm kind of joining you right now is May 7th, tomorrow, which is for us, May 7th. Got a big show coming out on Netflix called Jupiter's Legacy. A lot of people, you guys might know from the Clone Wars, Star Wars, the Clone Wars. Huge fans of that out there. Timeless, Pitch Perfect, a bunch of other stuff. Anyway, Jupiter's Legacy on Netflix. Huge superhero show where I get to finally fulfill my kid dreams and be a superhero. So I think it's going to be a big one. And hopefully it's got a lot of longevity to it. And I think people are really, really going to love it.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, big week for you. May the 4th was big for the Star Wars fanatics out there. Now you got the new show dropping. So obviously you've had a successful career here, Matt. Along this journey, then, how did the experience of becoming a father kind of change your perspective on life?
Oh man, well, to be honest with you, I can't listen to, look at, view any kind of like stressful daddy-daughter relationship on TV now. Like I just can't handle it, man. Like it gets me now. It's wild how that works. I mean, I know you relate. It's you see something going on or like a sad moment or a touching moment between a daddy and a daughter, and I'm just like, oh God, turn it off. So that's one thing that is definitely changed for me. Uh, but really, I mean, it really is true. For anybody listening who doesn't have kids, it's just a weird thing that happens. Your just perspective on life changes. They become the most important thing in your life, and you just find yourself saying, I'll do anything. You need me to quit acting today? I'll do it. You need me to do this? I'll do it. It just, everything really becomes about putting them first and most important. And, sometimes I think we like to kind of like gripe about that because there's no more time for me anymore. But then at the same time, you get this weird satisfaction and fulfillment, out of having a kid and putting that kid first and seeing, your legacy live on and the values that you have. It's there's no greater responsibility, in my opinion, than being a parent.
Yeah, very well said, Matt. And just like you there, I once seen the movie John Q with Denzel Washington years before I became a father. And then I
Yeah.
revisited the film after I was a dad. And boy, what a different experience it was emotionally for me to watch that. So, and you mentioned values there, Matt. What would you say are the top values that you're hoping to instill in your daughter growing up?
Sure. Yeah, gosh. I mean, well, I just treat others how you want to be treated. That's a core value, I think. Be grateful is a core value. Be humble, be kind. I mean, I guess these are all pretty typical things. I'm a Christian, so we'd like to raise our daughter to believe in Jesus. All those things, which all, for me, that those all sort of go together in a big ball of values.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm a faith-based person myself. My family, we eat dinner together every night. I have 4 kids myself. We eat dinner every night. We pray before dinner every night. So it's the most important part of my day. So
that's great.
I share that sentiment with you there. And then,
yeah.
What about as far as 3 years old? Do you what does your bedtime routine look like? Are you a book reader? Are you a storyteller? A lullaby guy? How does bedtime routine kind of look for you?
Yeah, so it's been really fun. With the stress of this pandemic, what it has allowed is for constant time with my daughter, whereas I would be somewhere else and not allowed to have a bedtime. I'm very conscious of that, that sometimes you feel like, I'm just tired. I just don't feel like doing this whole bedtime routine, but I'm so grateful that I'm able to do this bedtime routine nearly every night now, and until, I have to go away on my next job. So the bedtime routine for us, number one, it's way too late. We know that, but whatever. We normally get her upstairs around 8:30 or so, and we usually do 2 books, and now lately we've been showing her YouTube videos of Shirley Temple, Good Ship Lollipop, and Little Rascals video, and those kind of shift. We always do 2 books, but then it's either some couple of YouTube videos or a couple of songs that she might want to listen to. It's sort of morphed. We used to sing songs and sing a couple lullabies, and so either myself or my wife will actually get in her little crib with her, which I said to my wife, I was like, should we be doing this? Should we be like getting in bed with her to kind of do the nighttime routine? And we don't sleep with her. We don't co-sleep. We've actually never co-slept. She's always been in her own crib, which I think is very important for my wife and I to have our own space. But I said, should we be getting in her bed like this? And my wife was like, she's young once, she's not going to want daddy or mommy to come to bed with her, to tuck her in or whatever, in a couple of years. And I said, you got a good point. When she's 10 years old, 12 years old, I'm going to be like, remember those times where we used to crawl in her bed and like sing to her? And so we're good with it for right now, but that's what we're doing. Couple of books, and then either a couple of songs that we listen to or a couple of videos. And then we normally give her a kiss goodnight and get out of there. We always turn on the stars. We got light up stars in the room. We turn those on, turn the sound machine on. My daughter is very, very routine, and she doesn't like to break a routine unless we sort of force her to break it, and then she likes that change. Like, for example, she was listening to songs right before bed, and then we kind of stopped doing that to show her like the Shirley Temple Good Chip Lollipop YouTube video or the Little Rascals clips. And now, the like last week or so, she only wants to see those videos. So, but the books remain constant, and either myself or my wife will go to bed with her for about 10 minutes before we leave for the night.
Yeah, very cool.
Long-winded explanation.
Yeah, listen, I'm right there with you. Like I said, my daughter's she's my only girl. She's the youngest. We had the 3 boys, and then we got the girl on
Oh
the
yeah,
4th try. So I love showing her the Shirley Temple, curly top, bright eyes, all
yeah,
that stuff. And with my
yeah,
boys, I love watching the Three Stooges with them. And it's great that we can bring
yeah.
back some of these things that we have at our fingertips now to watch everything on demand. It's pretty cool. And on that, obviously, the way that we do consume movies and media has completely
Yeah.
changed from when you first came on the scene here. Now everything has changed, especially with the pandemic too. So what kind of advice, Matt, do you have for the parent out there that does have a kid that's interested in pursuing an acting career? What would be the best route you would suggest for the parents to steer the kid?
Poof, man. Okay, so I mean, I'm not gonna lie. It's that's gonna be a tough for the parent, especially if they're presumably you're talking under 18 where they're still a minor. That's tough to pursue. There's a lot of people trying to do that. One thing that I always tell people, that someone will ask me advice and they'll say, well, I've got my son or my daughter in, Barbizon or one of these are was it IMT models or something, one of these things where basically you shell out money to pay for classes, and then they might have a chance at getting, an agent. You don't have to do that. Like, and these organizations would hate me for saying that, because you don't have to pay $6,000 for your kid to take classes. You could do that on your own, or if they're super young, at that young age, it's more about a natural ability or not. You just submit a tape or something to some of the agencies or headshots, and you might have a chance. Like these classes where you have to pay and pay and pay money for a possible opportunity. I just don't. I think it's a moneymaker for these businesses. So parents, you don't have to do that, but it's something you got to stick with. You got to want. I mean, I guess that's why I'm saying it as a parent to a young kid wanting to pursue that. I mean, obviously, you want to support them, but it's tough because I don't think the reality of it is that a lot of people don't succeed in that, and there's a lot of kids, or maybe their parents want it more than their kid does. As a general rule, I don't even know where I'm trying to go with this, but I guess as a general rule, don't force your kid into it. Like, if they want to do it and they think it's magic and fun, then sure. But come on, parents, like don't force your kid to go be a little actor or a little model when they just want to be out playing baseball. Like, I
Yeah,
don't
and I,
know.
and I think I think we see that on the sports side too, Matt. We see a lot of parents
Yeah,
do the same thing. Yeah.
exactly.
And what's funny about it too is we have all these organized leagues with everything, and it's like my kids. I was coaching them in 4-year-old soccer. Like years ago, we all made up the teams. We played together. We made the rules. There were no parents, referees, coaches. Like
Yeah.
we were able to just kind of gain those problem solving skills on our own, which we kind of robbed from our kids today.
Yeah, I mean, I played organized sports all growing up, so I can't knock on organized sports. But yeah, I mean, I think that you hear this way too often about parents, whether it be sports or some other function, drama or whatever it is. The parents kind of force the kid to keep doing it, and then they get burned out, right? And then they don't like it anymore, which is sad, because maybe they did have a love for it, but then it became more about a job for the kid in a way, and they kind of get burned out on playing, and that's kind of sad too. So,
Yeah,
yeah, it's a weird line as a parent about deciding what is best for your kid and then letting them make the choice, because it's just, I don't know, it's a weird thing. These are things I'm going to experience as I raise my daughter and maybe another kid too in the future, about like, where do I draw the line about saying no, no, you're going to stick with this because you signed up for it, or you're good at this, you're going to stick with this because you're just going through a phase where you don't like it, but you're going to make something out of yourself in a few years. uh, I'll have to explore all that, so I'll probably be revisiting your podcast to find out what parents are doing at that stage.
Well, listen, pulling it back into you now here as a dad, Matt. Well, one of the things that's difficult for me to transition was from my three boys to my daughter when it comes to discipline. I'm still trying to become a better disciplinarian with her as I am with my boys. You got the girl right out of the jump here. So what kind of discipline? Are you a spanker, timeout guy? How do you kind of handle discipline? And is that different than the discipline style that you grew up with?
Yeah, I mean, we are mostly timeouters. I grew up with getting some swats on the butt. So I look, me personally, I feel like people make way too big a deal about spankings. I mean, clearly, I'm not talking about like, a physical, something where it's going to hurt and last, but a little pop on the hand or something like that. I think it gets their attention. That's how I was raised. I was never hit with a belt. Was never hit with a stick. I would never do that. But I don't think it's out of line to give them a little swat on the hand. Gets their attention a little bit. But I will say that my daughter's pretty good. Like, we don't have many disciplinary situations. I honestly can't even remember the last time we had to give her a timeout. Normally, if we get a little stern with her, I mean, especially me, if I get a little more stern, she just cries, and then we have to explain to her what's going on and why we're doing this, and why she needs to listen. So we truthfully have not had to do it that much. So hopefully it stays that way. I don't know. Unless it totally backfires. By the time she's a teenager, she'll be a complete rebel. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what, I agree with you there too. And I think with my kids, each one of them respond differently to different discipline styles. I have one kid, you could spank them all day long. It ain't really going to do anything to them.
Doesn't matter.
Other ones, you could threaten to spank them, and that's enough for them to pipe up. So it's definitely, finding out the best way to each individual kid. And how about as far as what you do here, Matt? Has becoming a dad kind of changed the particular roles that you'll choose to play or that you're seeking out as an actor?
That's a great question. It's definitely a thought that is now conscious on my mind. Like, in 15 years, can my daughter watch this, or would she be embarrassed to show it to a friend? Will I be embarrassed to talk about this? Will I be proud of this thing 10 years, 15 years later? Those are definitely thoughts that go through my head now. I've always sort of been that way. I mentioned earlier, I'm a faith guy like yourself. So I do tend to approach roles from that side of things anyhow. At least that is a factor that plays into things for me, and it kind of always has. So I would say that there is more kind of self-imposed scrutiny on what jobs that I do because of my daughter, because nothing now nothing goes away, and even interviews, she could pull this thing up 20 years from now if she really wanted to, probably, and watch it, so everything sticks, and it's a thing you just kind of, it's today's world, I guess, about trying to navigate what I do. I will say that having a daughter, I kind of touched on it earlier, the emotional level and the depth that you feel with having a daughter, or any kid for that matter, but that I love those moments now. So this show that's coming out tomorrow, Jupiter's Legacy, there are some scenes that Josh Duhamel has with his daughter in the show, and it's a very strained relationship. Nothing to do with my character at all. Those are some of my most favorite scenes in the show, surprisingly, and it's a big, huge, epic superhero show. And those are some of the scenes that I actually really enjoy a lot, because I really relate to those now. And it makes me think, like, God, I hope that's not me and my daughter in 17, 18 years. But I see it happen, and so I think having a kid, it really opens up a complexity and a depth in yourself, an emotional depth that you didn't know was there, and you tap into that. And I think, it makes me a better actor.
Yeah, very well said, Matt. Yeah, I'll tell you what, just from a lot of the dads that I get on here that are advanced, have grandkids, even a lot of the dads that I bring on and stuff. So one of those stages, my oldest is 15, so he's just on the onset of hitting all them scenes where he's going to start driving and dating and all these other things. So the advice and just listening to some other dads that have been there and done that has been so beneficial for me, as well. So obviously you mentioned it there, Jupiter's Legacy. dropping on Netflix here. What other kind of projects or movies or shows you're working on here that you got coming up in the future?
Yeah, I voice Anakin Skywalker for Star Wars. A lot of the animated projects, video games. There's always things in the pipeline with that. So pay attention in the future, and you'll probably see some things. Yeah, I've got a movie that I'm supposed to be doing fairly soon here. Can't really talk much about that, but yeah. Other than that, we'll see. Jupiter's Legacy is dropping tomorrow. I think within 30 days, they usually the Netflix model usually tells you if you're doing a season two and where that's going to be. So I think we will. It's just such a good show. I mean, so my hope is that we'll be doing season two of that. I don't know when it's going to be, but hopefully that'll be on my calendar. And so other than that, really the world's starting to open back up now. So it's been slow for all of us. So beyond this movie that I've got coming up here, I don't really know what the schedule is until I might possibly going back for season two. So we'll see. And you know what? Again, like I mentioned, if nothing's going on after I shoot this movie here, that's great. I get more time with my daughter. I'll enjoy the summertime.
Yeah, very cool. And last thing I'm going to hit you with here, Matt, I'd love to ask all the dads that I get on the podcast, what type of advice do you have for that new dad or for that about to be father who's out there listening?
Yeah, that the new dads out there will be days where you feel like I can't do this. Like this is too stressful. I have no time for myself anymore. And I can tell you that it always gets better, and your joys will outweigh your stresses. At least that's what I've found. And also, every day for me seems to get better and better. And I know that sounds so cliche. And this is actually where my wife sort of differs. My wife is, I love when she was a baby and I could hold her and I smelled her hair. But for me, I think I always sort of knew this about myself. I was really looking forward to these toddler years because yeah, the terrible twos and all that. We didn't really go through that, I don't think. But they start interacting with you. They start talking to you. You see your words in them. You start seeing some of the things that you do in them. And that is so fun. And it's so gratifying on such a deep level that I can't even really explain. So there's going to be stressful times. There's going to be amazing times. The amazing times totally outweigh the stressful times. Just stick with it. Keep going. Also, I heard Channing Tatum talk about this recently. I think he just did a book. You don't have to be anything special or do anything special. If you just love your kid and you give them attention and you care for them and you play with them, they're going to love you and they're going to think you're special. You're their dad. They don't have any other dads. So don't worry about that. Just be there. Just be there with them.
Yeah, very well said. I love the message. This has been an honor for me. I got to say, Matt Lanter, you're a first-class father all the way. And thank you so much for giving me a few minutes of your time here at First Class Fatherhood.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me on.